how do you calibrate whether the critical faculty is offline? What will tell me if it is or isn't, or what might I observe?
Right. So the first thing is there's not ever 100% guarantee. There are just clues for this. And the biggest clue for me or one of the major clues is what I call quality of response. So, how is somebody responding to your suggestions and directions? This is the first thing. Now, in a street hypnosis context, this is super, super easy because you say, okay, you've got somebody who wants to do some street hypnosis. You say, okay, can I get you to stand over here? And then you gesture and you do a light touch on the top of their shoulder. And do they flow easily and move position? Or do they not? Do they sort of like look at you a bit funny and maybe roll their shoulder, or there's a little bit of resistance in the touch, something like that? So you haven't quite got that quality of response. Or you'd say to somebody, can I borrow that hand? And you gesture to their hand. And if it just unconsciously comes up and they're unconsciously responding, then you have a good quality of response. If you say, can I borrow that hand? And they go, what, this one? The critical faculty is online. They're putting their own little subroutines in. They're questioning. Now, this is really easy when you can just request responses and see about getting them. These are physical responses. But if you say to somebody, you know what it's like when you just feel good for no reason at all? Well, the response to that is going to be nonverbal. Right? It's not going to be an overt behavior, but there will be a response. So if you say, you know what it's like when you just feel good for no reason at all? You ever have one of those days? And if someone's like, yeah, I think so, right? Actually, that might be an okay response. Right? They go, yeah, I think so. That they might be genuinely looking for the answer. Therefore, they're genuinely responding to your question. If you say, yeah, ever have one of those days where you just feel good for no reason at all? And they go, well, everybody does, don't they? Right? That's a critical faculty response. So there's certain sorts of response. Here's an interesting thing. On last weekend at the UK Hypnosis Conference, there was a lady came up on the Saturday evening and she sat down, she was talking to somebody else, and then she turned and she was speaking to me, and someone said, oh, James is speaking tomorrow. You should definitely catch that. She said, oh, what are you talking on? I said, well, I'm mainly doing something on clean language. And I started to say a few more words, and her face did this. An actual look of genuine disgust as I spoke. And that's a critical faculty response. That's something. It's like, I don't like this. So, I said to her, I'm really curious. Your face, what's it trying to say right now? Or what is it saying right now? And she's like, well, I just think that all this language pattern stuff is overrated and all of this. And I said, well, clean language isn't really about language. It's about experience. And I knew enough to know she was into somatic stuff. So I framed that in a way that she would buy into. And she did. And she came along and she loved it. She absolutely loved it. So a lot of the time, it's actually, once you start looking for it, it's really obvious whether you're getting a smooth response. Sometimes there's things in the kind of micro expressions and things. Like sometimes I'll work with a client and they've got their eyes closed, but they're kind of a little bit tense around here, right? Tension can often be reflective of some difficulty or struggle of some kind of critical faculty stuff. It isn't always the case, but it can be a clue. So this brings us back to sort of NLP style calibration stuff, sensory acuity. We want to look for clues, but not assume that we definitely know what they mean. And this is why sometimes I'll say to a client, what is it that's happening right now? Or going back to this point I said earlier about mind reading, once you start to recognize patterns, I said about, in the business call, you could say, let me guess, is something like this going on for you? And they say, yes. Oftentimes I can tell just by what somebody's kind of doing. Is there a bit of a frown? They're sort of like their body is not flowing along with me or with the rhythm of things. And I think there's some critical faculty activity going on. I might say, and I don't doubt you have some thoughts about this, wondering about the validity of this, maybe a little bit of critical inner dialogue. So I call out that because I'm mind reader and I get it right. That often helps to dispense it or disperse it somewhat. So generally speaking, there's nothing that you really can absolutely go, yeah, I know it, but are you getting a good quality of response? Is somebody flowing along with you? You can invite people to do things like say, okay, can I get you to just take a breath in? There you go, and just let that all the way out. And your eyes can close easily. So those little bits of business that you get in classical hypnosis, people go, oh, is that a trance induction? For me, it's just looking to assess a bit of quality of response. Your eyes can close and they're staring at you like that, right? You know that there's some kind of critical faculty. They're not necessarily flowing along with the process.